everyone, what's up? My name is Joss and welcome back to my channel, squibblesreads. So as you can tell, I've changed settings a little bit again. I wasn't getting very much depth back there because I used to film between the couch and my bookshelf just for my last video, but I wasn't getting that much depth. I was really far forward at the camera. I've also tweaked a couple of settings on my microphone, but we are in a very large room, so if there is an echo, I totally apologize. I'm totally trying to figure all of that out, but I hope it is at least a little bit better for this video. So excuse me while I continue to tinker a little bit with my camera settings. But today I did want to tell you guys my top 10 books that I would like to read in the year 2018, which is just a few days from now, which is really freaky because I think I blinked and we were at like January 1st, 2017, and now I'm gonna blink again and we're January 1st, 2018. Like, where has the time gone? But this video is going to be all previously released books that I would like to read in the new year, as opposed to my most anticipated releases for 2018, which is going to be an entirely different video coming soon. So just to kind of differentiate between those two. The books that I'm going to be talking about today are all books that have come out before, just books that I have not gotten to yet. And the first of those books I'm going to show you is A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. I hope the lighting is okay. This is a library book, so it does have the plastic binding on it, so I hope it's reflecting okay in the lens here. But this is a multi-generational novel that goes through 3 generations in an African-American family. We start in the 50s at the height of World War II in New Orleans, where we have a woman whose name is Evelyn. She's quite well off, so there is a little bit of intersectionality at play there. Then we move down a generation and we are in the year 1982, and we talk about Evelyn's daughter Jackie. Her plotline revolves around her husband, who is unfortunately struggling with an addiction to drugs. He abandons the family, but then he comes back. And then we move down another generation and we meet Jackie's son, TC. He grows marijuana, but he is not really into using the drug, but he is more obsessed with learning how to cultivate it and to grow it and like the optimal conditions for it. However, he is just being released from jail after a 4-month stint in jail for possession with the intent to distribute. So we go down 3 generations in this family and we meet all of these characters. You guys know I love a good multi-generational novel. I think there may be 1 or 2 more in this video. The next book that I'm going to show you is a book that a lot of people have told me to read, and I just don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet. But this is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This story revolves around the fall of Troy and also the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. I have heard that this book really highlights the dynamic of their relationship, but also kind of the fallout and the consequences of their relationship. I've also heard that it does not take away from any of the violence and the brutality that was going on in history at this time. And I think in order for us in modern day to really empathize and understanding what is going on with these characters in that situation, it's important to not really skimp on any of those details, however terrifying and uncomfortable they may be for me kind of sitting on my couch reading about this part of history. So I'm most definitely here for all of that. And the third book that I have here is The Good People by Hannah Kent. This is unfortunately a victim of that period of like 4 to 5 months in the first half of the year. I was working full-time hours and going to school full-time. I was taking the tests that I have to take in order to graduate. It was a busy time, and also planning my wedding. So this is a book that was victim to that whole situation and me not reading at all. But I really wanted to get to this one this year, and sadly I did not. This is the sophomore novel of Hannah Kent. If you guys know, Burial Rights, which she also wrote, is one of my favorite books of all time, and I just didn't have the chance to get to this one. This one is kind of similar in tone, but the story and the setting are very different from Burial Rights. So this is a story that is set in Ireland in the year 1825. Our protagonist is a woman named Nora, and her husband Martin has just passed away, and she's left to be the caretaker of her 4-year-old grandson. But her 4-year-old grandson he does not speak, he does not talk, and instead at night he just screams all night and he doesn't sleep, and she's just having a really hard time. So she believes, or has convinced herself, or has some type of superstition that he has been actually kidnapped by fairies or changed into fairies and replaced by a being called a changeling. So there is involvement of some fairies, maybe a little bit of like supernatural elements, and also a lot of like myths and traditions and everything that was going on in Ireland during this time in the 1800s. My 4th book is Kintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Mukumbi. This is a book that I hauled in my latest December book haul. If you guys are interested in that, I will definitely leave it in the card up there and also in the down bar below. But this is a book that is set in Uganda. I have never read a book that has been set in Uganda, and it starts in the year 1750, and we have a being named Kintu, and he casts casts a curse on this family for many generations to come. This is, again, a multi-generational novel, which you know I love, and it follows all the generations and how the curse affects them. I did scroll through some reviews, and I've read that it covers topics like AIDS, crime, mental health, differences in things like income, religion, childbearing beliefs, and of course traditions and stories and mythology that are passed down from generation to generation. All things within a massive scope, which I absolutely love in a novel that follows many generations in the same family. Next, I have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and also there is a sequel that just got released in, I think, early to mid-December called The Girl in the Tower. I sadly have not read either. This is set in the wilderness, so definitely some of that chilly, haunting, wintry type setting. We have our main character, Vasya, who loves to play and just be out and about in the wilderness. She has, of course, as a lot of fairy tales go, a stepmother that is involved in some kind of dark and mysterious plotline that involves magic and the forest and the wilderness. There is something weird going on in the forest, and I think the people in the town that she lives in may perhaps be in danger. There are spirits and magical dark beings, all things that I really, really love, set in kind of a wintry setting again. This sounds really wonderful and perfect to read while it is still cold outside. I mean, it's really not that cold outside. I'm wearing a sweater, but it has cold shoulders, so I mean, I can pretend, right? And my next book that I have here is The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. I have been also wanting to read Attica Locke. I think her works are some that I will definitely dive into a little bit more in 2018, but she's an African-American writer of mysteries, but she also writes scripts and screenplays for big production companies, and one of the coolest things that I think she's done is that she's a writer and producer for the TV show Empire, but that was a total tangent. This is her book, The Cutting Season. A lot of her mysteries focus on the American South, and this one in particular is set in Louisiana on a plantation called Bellevue, and there is a woman named Karen, and she has been kind of the caretaker of the plantation for the past 4 years, and when she is walking, there is a body of a girl that she stumbles upon, and when she kind of does her own little investigation into it, she finds that there are a lot of secrets and family things that are going on in the plantation that she starts to unearth. It starts getting really creepy. I love mysteries. I love thrillers, especially in the winter. Like I said in a previous video, I love them all year, but they just get darker and creepier and awesomer to read because they're really compelling and moving in the winter. I don't know why I'm telling you why I like thrillers, but I do like them a lot, and this one is one that I've been wanting to get to for a while. Next book that I'm going to tell you about is so hard for me to explain, and I think I just need to frickin' read it, but this is The Impossible Fairy Tale by Han Yu-ju, and translated from Korean by Janet Hong. This is a book that revolves around elementary school age children. There are a couple of what is described as unremarkable children, and it kind of follows their story in school, but their class and the children in their class have been consumed by a murderous rage, and one of the children starts to write really threatening and really terrifying and offbeat things in a notebook that allude to the death of other children and people in the school, which is really creepy and kind of reminds me of the anime Death Note, but I digress. This was in my most anticipated releases of 2017. It is the end of 2017, and here I am wanting to read it in 2018. Go me. And book number 8 is Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. I believe this is the first book in a fantasy trilogy. It has all the makings of a great fantasy novel. It has political intrigue set in a fantastical world, but what really interests me in this one is that I believe the story and the society in this book is very open-minded towards things like polyamory, characters' different sexualities, and the way that they approach sexual and romantic relationships. I think this whole society is just very open-minded, and so we see characters that have different types of relationship kind of in this vein, in this world, which I think is really cool. Book number 9 is the book that I think I am the most sad about that I haven't read yet, and I don't know why, but this book is The Story Hour by Thriti Amrigar. Thriti Amrigar has a lot of own voices books, a really large repertoire actually, of books that feature Indian and Indian American protagonists, and I really look forward to discovering more of her books in 2018. But this particular one is about a psychotherapist whose name is Maggie, and one day a client walks in. She's an Indian woman whose name is Lakshmi, who has just survived a suicide attempt. There are a lot of things in her life that really aren't serving her. Her husband is incredibly controlling and domineering, and also she has been cut off from her parents and her whole life and her friends in India. And Maggie finds that as their therapeutic relationship goes on, it becomes less of a therapeutic relationship and more of a friendship, which is kind of a little bit of a weird ethical boundary for Maggie. So she is grappling with that, and we also hear a lot of Lakshmi's story as well. I am so looking forward to getting into this one very soon. And the final book, book number 10 that I have to show you guys, is No One Is Coming to Save Us by Stephanie Powell Watts. This is a modern retelling, or it's actually not a retelling, it's inspired by The Great Gatsby, except it is set in modern day in North Carolina and features all African American characters. So I am super looking forward to this one. I was actually researching on the internet an interview by Stephanie Powell Watts that NPR was doing, and she said that she wanted to twist the story a little bit and really focus and give voice to the female characters in the book, because in The Great Gatsby, it can be argued that the females were really used as symbols and objects to kind of drive the plot and the men's motives forward a little bit more. So she wanted to give a voice and some more agency to the women in this book. And I was also reading that some of the similarities to The Great Gatsby are that there is a character who is coming home from a long time away, and this character has formed an idealized world and an idealized picture of what home will be like, including how different people will treat the character and how they will treat certain people, and this idealized setting that they've been concocting in their mind for a long time, and kind of seeing how that plays out. So those are the top 10 books that I plan on reading in 2018, hopefully in like the first couple months of 2018, because I've been wanting to get to these ones for a while. Please leave down in the comments what book that has been published already that you want to read in 2018. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.